This is a COVID-19 virus, or coronavirus, or novel coronavirus, or SARS-CoV-2 virus. Point is, we know it by many names, but what we don't know or understand is how our body is fighting against it when it's contracted. Let's take a closer look. When the coronavirus first makes contact with the respiratory epithelial membrane, it'll set off alarmins known as interleukin or IL. All of these alarmins belong to parts of the cytokine family and together trigger innate lymphoid cells or ILCs, which come in three forms: ILC1, ILC2, and ILC3. The first chemical response from the dying epithelium will be to release interleukin 25 and interleukin 33, which gather macrophage and white blood cells and trigger ILC2s to send out mediators called interleukin 13s to stimulate mucosa production from the goblet and submucosal cells and send activated dendritic cells out to the lymph to inform and gather effector T cells. Gamma delta T cells will release cytokines and chemokines to inform nearby immune cells that there is a problem. This activates a cell-mediated response in our bodies, and our adaptive immune cells, or professional antigen-presenting cells, will begin to show. When an adaptive immune cell successfully consumes a coronavirus invader, a compatible helper T cell will come along and attach itself to the presented antigen piece, where interleukin 1 will be secreted by the antigen-presenting cell to inform the helper T cell of what the body is dealing with. The helper T cell will then activate and duplicate while releasing a bunch of cytokines. Cytokines will enter other helper T cells, allowing them to activate, and may also aid in the activation of naive adaptive immune cells. With all of these alarmin secreting chemicals, helper and gamma delta T cells constantly brewing up cytokines, and ILC2s stimulating inflammatory responses, we get what is called a cytokine storm, which causes the airways to swell to prevent the spread of the virus but makes it hard to breathe. While this is happening, ILC2s will also produce interleukin 5. This chemical creates muscle contractions that cause coughing. Our NK cytotoxic and gamma delta T cells will begin to patrol looking for hijacked cells who are signaling for apoptosis. They do this by binding to the antigen receptor and releasing enzymes called perforins into the cell membrane in the process called cytolysis. After all the fighting and the expulsion of the infected and intruding cells, the respiratory epithelium will release interleukin 33 and trigger the production of amphiregulin and interleukin 10 from the ILC2 cells. Amphiregulin begins the tissue repair while interleukin 10 is an anti-inflammatory. Our regulatory T cells will now go out to inform our immune cells that there is no threat, so they don't go out of control and kill healthy cells as seen in immunodeficient people, and hopefully our body will return to its healthy state.